Into my podcast about sports.
Howdy, Ags from the Tailgate, home of Aggie football. This is Coach and the delivery man. What's up, Corey?
Hello.
Hey, Corey, I bet you can guess who's bringing this episode to the fans today.
Who's that?
This one's brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about you and the details you care about, contact Frida Homes. Visit them on Instagram at frida.homes or give Justin a call, 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everyone loves their Frida Homes. Want everybody to remember to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Get on the YouTube channel and subscribe. I don't know what's going on with this little headset going on here. You know, it's kind of bringing out like the bald spots in my head, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. That's bringing out the bald spots.
Yeah. I want to see you take your hat off, see what happens. Oh, look at that full head of hair. I mean, halfway back.
There you go.
YouTube, subscribe. What do they call it, Corey? What do you always hear?
Smash it, dude. You gotta smash the subscribe button. Smash it.
Smash the subscribe button.
Mashing.
Mashing or smashing?
Smash. SM. Smashing.
We're having issues with some of that. Sharp, whatever. Smash, whatever. All the same. A few comments this week. Ram, one of your boys, isn't it?
Yeah.
He says
works up at UPS with.
The best he can say is 1-0. Let's keep on gigging them. Whoop. There you go. Whoop. Love it, Ram. Absolutely. One game at a time, baby. On Connor, though, he says, what a loss. Weigman out for season. Prayers to Connor.
That is a big loss.
We'll get into a little Connor Weigman discussion there. But 100% there, Ram. Thanks for the commentary and thanks for listening, brother. Chuck says, as hard as this game was to watch, there were some encouraging things. Offense looks to be able to move the ball down in the field. However, not sure they're good enough to overcome the penalties that keep plaguing them. Happy with the defense, but verdict's still out. Still see tackling issues in the secondary. Arkansas games defines the season. SEC West is still wide open. Not LSU's yet. Through 4 weeks, everyone looks beatable. 100% agree with most of what he said. Is that like 75% of the time it works 50% of the time? Maybe.
That's right. That's how it works.
So I do want to comment on a couple of things. We hadn't really mentioned it too much, Corey, but he's 100% correct in the sense that this offense has been known to get penalties at the most inopportune times this season, right? You know, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, and they'll jump right into the red zone, and big penalty that holds them back, forces them into a field goal instead of a touchdown. There's a lot of little things that can be fixed and corrected in that area. This offense definitely needs to clean it up there because ultimately it will come back to haunt us at some point this season, I think, if they continue to do that. So that's a great point by him. If they continue to do that, have those penalties, if they continue to have the false start penalties, the holding penalties that have plagued us so far, it's going to be, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough against a team like Arkansas. It's going to be tough against a team like Alabama, like Tennessee, LSU, right?
Right.
And then his comment on the defense, 100%, verdict still out. We like what we saw against Auburn. They're a horrible offense, but we did see some things that we liked in the pressure, so that's all good. All right. We're going to move on to the bad news of the week. Bad news of the week.
There's going to be a new spot on our show, Bad News of the Week. Bad News of the Week. Perkins still has a job with the Aggies. On to other info. Is there more bad news than that?
Yes, there is. So we knew Connor had a little bit of an injury. it got confirmed that our friend Connor Weigman, one of our boys, a guy that we obviously have very high regard for, out for the rest of the year. Out for the rest of the year. Confirmed. Let's start with this. Corey. What is the effect of losing Connor for the year?
On our football team, it sucks, but it might help our baseball team. He might play baseball now. But just saying. No, it sucks. He was I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on that offensive line more than anything. It's going to affect everything. Teams are going to put more pressure on Max. They know what they've seen Max enough over the years. And also, by the way, I heard today that Max is classified as a sophomore. Did you know that?
Yeah, he went ahead and took his COVID year. He took his COVID year, and so even though he's been in school for 6 years, he's just still a sophomore.
Yeah, I had no idea that he was still a sophomore. I heard that today, and I was like, "We got him for 2 more years. I like that." And but no,
I wouldn't just assume that we have them for 2 more years.
Oh, he said he loves it here. I listen to Max talk. He doesn't lie.
Yeah. You wouldn't expect him to say that, would you?
Yeah. No, the offensive line is going to have to block a lot better. The coaching's going to have to coach a lot better. They're going to have to change his offense up a little bit, make sure the ball's getting out of Max's hands quicker. They need it. I mean, he's not Connor, and Max seems to get happy feet sometimes in the pocket. Connor didn't seem to get the happy feet. He made a decision and went with it. He was either going to run, he'd read the field and then take off, but I don't know. I mean, I'm excited about Max. I think he'll do fine. I think we have a strong supporting cast. Our running backs are good. They're playing well. Wide receivers are playing great. And if the offensive line steps up, even better.
Yeah, I think that I absolutely believe that, that he's a good, look, he's a lot better option than a lot of teams have as far as a backup, right? There's no question about that, but he's not Connor, right? He doesn't get rid of the ball the way Connor does. He's not a decision maker the way Connor. He may have a little bit of stronger arm than Connor. He may have a little bit more behind the ball at times, but as it goes, the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback is in the head, man. It's not in the arm. And
right.
And so that's what that coaching staff's really going to have to do is exactly what you said. Probably add some things that are just simple. Catch the ball, throw the ball. Start getting the ball out of his hand quicker. And yeah, you're right. The offensive line's going to have to step up, take up some of that pressure. So the good thing about it is he's still got all the talent around him, right? There's all the wide receivers are still there. The tight ends are still there. He's obviously got a very good rapport with his brother, who's already caught his first touchdown pass, getting thrown by Max. So, so at the end of the day, utilize those things, right? Utilize those weapons. That's going to be the key to me.
I think the key is going to be the offensive play calling. I think we need to run more motion, a little bit more to slow down the aggressiveness of different teams. You start moving guys around in the backfield, they're going to have to start looking to see what they're doing. If they just sit up there, they pretty much know what we're going to do. I don't want to see Anais get in motion. Maybe run a little sweep with him here and there. Run, more screen passes. Something that's going to keep these guys, instead of just pinning their ears back and coming after Max, do something that's. I'm not saying it has to be trickeration so much, just to keep the defense honest. I think that'll help us. What's that?
I said we haven't seen a lot of little quick wide receiver screens from this team, right?
That's right. And we have the athletes to do that kind of stuff. We have the perfect system with talent-wise to do that, especially the way our offensive line blocks. I think that would be beneficial to no end to do that.
The other thing that I like is, they did it in that first series, that first touchdown to Max, right? Boot him out. Get him out from behind that offensive line. Do a little play action boot where, you get things flowing one way. You then bring him outside of the pocket on the other side, with a quick, easy throw in the flats to somebody there, tight end or running back, right? Simplify his reads to a little half field read where, he doesn't have to take the whole field read. He can get the ball out a little bit quicker, right? I mean, there are little things like that you can do to help him out. And, screen passes we talked about. And then finally, at the end of the day, the running game still has to continue to get better, right? The running game still has to continue to get better, and they have to get better against better defenses. And so, take some pressure off of them that way.
Is this a better defense we're playing this week?
No.
Okay. I was just making sure. I didn't know if that's what you were talking about.
Okay. No. So
Gotcha.
Speaking of this weekend, let's talk about this weekend's game.
All right.
Aggies are going to face Arkansas at 11 a.m. at Jerry World in Arlington. Arkansas coming in at 2-2 with losses to BYU and this past week to LSU. Look, I went back and looked at those two games, which are the last two games for Arkansas. I really thought it was sort of that BYU loss was sort of inexcusable. Just penalties and turnovers absolutely killed them. They had a 14-point lead early. They got a 10-point lead late, and they lost both of them. And then ultimately that defense just absolutely gave way to BYU, a defense that's been problematic for them. But the other piece of that is that, KJ's been turning the ball over a little bit. And so that hurts, right? But they're a better team than BYU, and they lost that game 38-31. They're a better team than BYU. They lost that game. Last six possessions in that game. They lost the ball on downs, an interception, a missed field goal, a punt, a fumble, and time ran out. That's what I'm talking about right there. You can't do that to end the game that you had a lead in, right?
Right.
Had a lead in.
Yeah.
And then, you watched the game against LSU, by the way, one of the great games of the weekend last weekend. Great game. Just one of them, because there was several.
Right.
We talked about them. Yeah, we talked about them earlier this week. 34-31, a field goal game against LSU. And, inexplicably, for some reason, end of the half, LSU gets the ball. I don't remember, maybe like
There wasn't much time left.
It wasn't much time left.
Yeah.
And they go three plays, 75 yards. 3 plays, 75 yards, including the touchdown to Thomas. Thomas, very good wide receiver, who I believe had a couple of touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
And for 49 yards. Now, with no time left on the damn clock, why are you playing man-on-man on one of their best wide receivers down the field, right? Where's the safety deep? And the funny part about that play was they only brought 4. They just brought the safeties up in it to try to take away for some reason, the underneath. Like,
why would you do that with a little bit of time left?
Yeah, there's no time left, man. Just sit back, force them to make it. Thomas absolutely whooped the DB right off the freaking line of scrimmage, and boom, gone. And that was at a point where that game was 13-3 Arkansas. Right?
Was that the pass that was underthrown a little bit and Thomas had to do a step back and then run into the end zone? I can't remember. I know he did that one time on the left-hand side of the field.
That's one that he was so wide open it didn't matter. How about that?
Gotcha.
But and then in the second half, obviously, it turned into an absolute track meet, and LSU just happened to have the ball last, right? But that defense was atrocious against LSU. Early on, it looked like LSU was actually stopping itself, right? Because Daniels, it took him a little bit to get going. He missed a few throws early, but boy, when he got going, there was no stopping. So let's take that, what we saw there the last 2 weeks, because both losses for Arkansas, right? And let's see, what do we think? How's that look forward for A&M, right? What
you said there a second ago, you said Jefferson turns the ball over a lot. That's something our defense doesn't do.
So yeah, let's start with the defense. Let's start with the Aggie defense against that Arkansas offense. I like that.
Because that's something that until last week, we hadn't put pressure on the quarterback until last week. So I don't know if that's something new that we're going to see. This Arkansas offense is going to move the ball. It's going to be a lot different than seeing Auburn. It's going to be like seeing Miami again. That quarterback, this guy's big and mobile and can throw the ball downfield. We have a very talented running back.
Very, very important is exactly what you just said. KJ does not get enough credit for the way he throws the football. The dude
Yeah.
can hit his wide receivers now.
Yeah, he's he's like a poor man's Cam Newton, I guess you could say for right now. He's good. He doesn't have a lot of weapons,
Right.
in the receivers that we know of. He's got a great running back. His offensive line's been weak. But the guy can take some hits. I mean, he gets hit and brushes people off. He's hard to bring down. And Aggie tackling, like Chuck, whatever his name said, and that's been an Aggie issue is tackling and wrapping up. I mean, get a hold of his leg, get him down. We're going to have to tackle as a team, not just individuals. I mean, maybe our D line, some of those guys can handle them by themselves, but if we're going to put the pressure on like we did last week with the linebackers, they got to keep their heads up because KJ will run around. He's gonna move.
Look,
that little running back's gonna be waiting right there for that little pass, little drop off pass. He's gonna run it 20, 30, 40 yards. You got to be careful.
That's one thing. You're 100% correct about this, right? This offense revolves around KJ. There's no question about it. As he goes, this offense goes 100%. Now, look, the last 2 games, which they lost, they've been without their best running back, Sanders, right? Rocket Sanders hasn't played in those 2 games. He's supposed to be back.
He didn't play last week?
He didn't play last week. He's supposed to be back. He's supposed to be back this week.
Supposed to. Pay attention to
that. And so he's going to add, by the way, to that offense. He's going to add to that offense. He's one of the best running backs in the SEC, in the country, right? He's a guy that's explosive, that can make people miss. He's a big time ball player. You talked about the wide receivers. I'll say this. I think you're right. They're very unknown, right? Nobody really knows. But they believe in these big bodied wide receivers. And it's perfect for KJ because he will throw it up to all those guys, right? He loves to give them a chance to go catch these balls when they're one-on-one. They've also got a tight end that they're getting involved quite a bit in Haas.
Yeah.
The dude is a playmaker. He's a playmaker. And not only that, but tight end has been an area that the Aggie defense has struggled with, right? So those are things to look at. The other thing that I saw about this offense that I've been really impressed by is, they, just like the Aggies, have mistakes, penalties, inopportune loss of yardage plays, but they've got this knack for getting over those negative plays. I mean, last week it seemed like it was 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 14, like half the time in the second half, and KJ just makes a great play and hits his tight end or whatever, first down, whatever, right? Like, I was impressed by how many times they were able to overcome negative plays.
I agree with you. They can overcome that. It's an issue the Aggies have not been able to do so much. But they have the same problems we have. They have offensive line issues. Our receivers are better than their receivers. They have one running back that is really good, but we have 3 of them, I think, that are really good. Yeah. Their tight end Luke Haas has come up just because I think they don't have very many other options. Yeah, that's the only reason that I can see. I don't think he's any better than Jay.
Remember, it's a new offensive staff as well. They got a new offensive coordinator. I think he has gotten the offense back into their game plan.
But I just don't see them being that much better offensively. The biggest difference is KJ and him against Max. If you compare them, we don't have a whole lot to go with from Max this year, except for that half. We can go to his past. Max has played in big games. This is a big game. It'll be in Dallas. It's an early game, 11 o'clock kickoff.
But Corey, hold on before we go to Max, because obviously I want.
I'm not talking about Max so much. I'm just talking about the game itself. The kickoff being early. I'm not sure. Those early kickoffs are weird, man. It seems like it takes a little bit of time for the offenses to get going.
Yeah, obviously last week, right? It took them a half. One of the things that I found also in watching Arkansas so far this year, in the past, the quarterback run game has been such a big part of what they've done. And this year, they haven't been effective doing it. KJ has not been able to get those big chunk plays, consistent plays in the running game, right? And, they still run them sub. They just haven't been extremely successful doing it.
He carried the ball 16 times for 48 yards last week. 16 for 48.
Right. So what is that? Less than 3 yards a carry. right?
Yeah, it's right at 3 yards a carry.
Yeah. So I mean,
just under. I mean, but it's still. I mean, the offensive line's weaker. People have a lot to they know about KJ. He's been there for a few years. They know how to script him now. That's something that can be beneficial to have a quarterback coming back because you know what you're getting. But other teams on defense know what they're getting. Also, they shouldn't. Aggie should know what KJ can do and what he can do.
well, yeah.
They should know that he's going to throw the ball deep and put it. Give our secondary a chance to intercept it. But they also know that that he can make big plays.
Yeah, with regards to our defense, with regards to this defense, I loved it this past week, all the pressure that they were bringing, right? And I think that is the recipe for success for this defense going forward. More and more pressure, right?
Right.
I wonder, with KJ Jefferson sitting in the back there, if they continue to do that this week. I don't know if he doesn't start sitting back again in his 3-man line with a bunch of guys in coverage. And I'm going to tell you, KJ's going to pick you apart. He's going to get
It's
you.
either that or he's going to find out that his guys are covered and
right.
3-man lines don't get any pressure. And he's going to run 10, 15 yards down the field.
And he's going to run.
That's going to be a mistake. It's going to be a huge mistake. You got to put a pressure on him, be aggressive because he's shown that he'll make mistakes if you put pressure on him.
And that's the thing, right? But you also have to have a secondary that's in position to take advantage of those mistakes, right? Because when you start bringing those linebackers, like I said, you get some pressure, you bring those guys, and he will give defenses a chance to make a play. He absolutely will. So you got to take advantage of that. Now, if on the other side you bring pressure and you leave Richardson one-on-one on their best wide receiver, he's going to burn you deep all day, and you're going to be sitting there wondering what the heck just happened.
Yeah, probably right. What I'm thinking is Durkin needs to take more chances. He needs to understand what his defense is and be aggressive. I'd rather him take chances and get burnt deep, and instead of not doing that, because if you take the chances, you might get the turnover. And I'm telling you, this game's going to be a close game. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I believe. I think both teams are going to go up and down the field, and I think the offensive lines are very comparable. I think ours is actually better than Arkansas's this year. We don't have a better offensive line coach by any means.
I don't know that that's true. I don't know that it's.
I'm just saying. I think our offensive line is better. I don't know if our game plan is going to be better. If we go,
here's my thing, right?
Attack him, I think we'll be fine.
If you got a game in which it is up and down the field like that, those turnovers are going to be huge in that process, right? So take some risks. Take some risks.
Exactly.
Force some turnovers. Get yourself an extra possession so that when that track meet is going down, up and down the field, you're able to create a little separation, right? And so
I'm just wondering. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and so I guess all I'm saying is, to me, like playing it carefully in a game like this, and sitting back and forcing somebody to sort of go up and down, sort of march down the field 10, 15. I don't think that benefits, right? I don't think that benefits you because your defense is going to end up getting wore down because on the other side, their defense sucks so bad that your offense is probably going to score in 2 or 3 plays, from time to time. All of a sudden, you got a defense that's on the field all day long, and all of a sudden, at the fourth quarter, you got a defense that's wore out and getting wore out. You know what I mean?
And we saw that against Auburn, didn't we? We saw that against Auburn. We looked like we were the second half of that game. Our depth showed up. Yeah. I mean, it looked like that to me. It looked like when we were deep at running back, we could pound the ball. We're getting chunk runs, and that's going to help our passing game out immensely. And I know that those guys probably don't want to hear that. They're probably like, "Oh, we're going to pass, and then play run." But I don't think so.
I think you get a little bit of a sense of what I expect. I'm actually expecting DJ to revert back to Miami, but
I hope he learned something from Miami and learned something from last week. We put pressure on him.
What do you think? You think he'll do it?
I think he will. I think he had to learn his lesson. I think somebody's gotten to him. Maybe Jimbo, maybe Trino, maybe somebody, maybe the podcast says. I have no idea.
He's been listening to the podcast. So if that's the case, what player on this defense needs to stand out? Who's the guy that needs to stand out here for this defense to have success?
Well, if we're going to put pressure on him, I think that if we run a 3-4 man line, our defensive linemen are going to get a lot of pressure on them because that offensive line isn't very good. But if it happens like it did last week, it'll be our linebackers that benefit from it the most because our 3 to 4 linemen that we're sending, it's going to take 5, 6 guys to block them, right? That's why the holes opened up for York, for Coop, for Russell. I mean, so I could see those guys having a big game this week, and I'm not sure which one. Probably Coop because I think he's the best of the 3.
Yeah, and look, I think Coop has been playing the best football of his career the last few weeks.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have a whole lot of ways to go because he didn't play that well last year or the year before that. So, I mean, not trying to
last year to a certain extent it wasn't his fault. They took him off the field all the damn time.
Exactly.
Look, I agree that the linebackers should probably if he does that, if he continues to bring the pressure, I think they're going to get the benefit of that. Right, they're going to continue to bring pressure. I think the guy that has to stand out, I think is in the secondary. I'm looking at Chappelle to really take a step forward this week. Let's see if he can come in and be that shutdown guy. Maybe he can get his hands on a football out there, make a play, get a turnover. Sure, and that could be maybe it's Anderson, maybe, but I'm going with Chappelle, because I think in the secondary somebody's going to have to make a play for this to be the outcome we want. That secondary has got to play better this week, and they're going to have to make a play.
No, I hear you. I mean, this is the game last year that Richardson, what did he steal the game with that return?
Was it Chappelle that picked up the fumble and then handed it to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and obviously that was the difference in the game, right? That was huge turning point. All right. So offensively, what are the Aggies going to have to do here? Like, we're facing this Arkansas team. We've talked about how bad this defense is. And really, I mean, they didn't even slow LSU down in the second half last week. It's a 4-2-5 base. They do exactly what you would think, right? They'll bring 4. They like they'll sit back with their safeties back and yada yada yada, and then from time to time they'll bring pressure and man up.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of their thing. If you look at this roster and you look at this defensive line specifically, they don't have those guys that just scare you, though, right?
Last year they had linebackers. This year they don't have the linebackers like they had last year.
Right, and they've also notoriously had the defensive end or two that sort of brings some pressure as well, right?
Right.
All those guys are gone.
Yep.
So for the Aggie offense, what does that mean?
What does that mean? You think that we'd be able to do whatever we want to do on offense, basically? Because, I mean, we should be able to run the ball if we want to. We should be able to play action pass if they're going to man up, because we should be able to burn them deep, especially with our receivers. I mean, you name it, we should be able to do it, but it all depends on our offensive line. I mean,
yeah,
we've made really bad defensive lines in ULM and New Mexico look pretty good.
Yeah, and another thing, right? I think they're a lot better at the corner spots than the safeties. The safeties that I think have some vulnerabilities there and sort of get lost in the shuffle sometimes. So you may have the opportunity to get some guys coming out of the slot and doing some things there. But I think once again, you've got to do what you talked about. You've got to adjust this offense so that Max is ready to get the ball out and get it out of his hands quickly, right?
Yeah. I think they're going to bring pressure. I think they're going to bring a lot of pressure. I think they're going to scheme for Max, and they're going to say, hey, they're not going to let this guy beat us. We're going to pressure him, make him get the ball out of his hands quick, and make him make mistakes, which he hasn't done so much. But what he will do
is
eat the ball. Yes, he'll eat the ball, and then we'll be in a punt fest. And if we start punting the ball a lot, that sucks because Arkansas will score points.
Yeah, I want to see them get him out of the pocket, move him around a little bit, let him hit some easy ones off of play action, do some things like that. But the
play action, the problem with Max and the play action, it takes him a while to get out of that play action. You know what I'm saying? It takes him a while to fake the handoff, put his eyes downfield,
Well,
I think they need to do more stuff with motion, quick screens.
with the
and
boot,
take
but with the
advantage of
boot,
aggressive
with the boot,
defense.
you give him more time, right? If you're gonna
Right.
play action and boot, then you give him a little bit
Yeah.
more time because he's
Right.
coming out from behind that offensive line and get can sort of see the field hopefully a little bit clearer.
What
I
about a
do agree with
halfback
you.
pass or something like that? I've seen that a lot in the NFL lately, and I enjoyed the hell out of watching it. These halfback passes, wide receiver passes. It's been entertaining watching that in
Odds
the
of a
NFL.
trick play. Odds of a trick play. What are the odds?
I think they're higher this game than what they have been all season.
I'm gonna go with 0.
I'm gonna say
Because
I bet
that's how
they're
many
50
that's how many we've seen in the last 6 years with Jimbo here, by the way.
Well, Petrino's here. I bet it's 50%. I bet we see one.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's going to be. We might punt it on third down or something like our boy Phil says. That'll be a trick play.
The flea flicker, man. The
They
flea
never
flicker.
see that coming. Punting on third down.
Man, I was looking at some different things the other day, and I've got a play for Petrino right now. I've got a play for Petrino. He needs to just, hey Bobby, give me a call. I got no doubter, buddy. This is touchdown. Ready?
How many do you think Max is going to throw a pick this week?
He protects the ball pretty well, but he protects the ball pretty well. I expect him to get sacked a few times. How about that?
I was about to say, how many times do you think he'll get sacked?
Yeah,
More than 3?
more than 4.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to our next quarterback then. Is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, the fact is
Great.
that
That's just
the offensive
that's
line
what
may
I
not
was
do him any
talking to you
favors.
about. Like you can't play scared, but you can't afford to lose Max. We lose Max, 500.
Henderson is the backup.
Don't care. No
Big
offense.
time.
Don't care, Henderson.
So what do you want to see from this offense? What do you want to see?
I want to see explosive plays. I want to see exactly what LSU did to Arkansas in the second half.
Attack.
Explosive plays. Yeah, you saw Daniels get out of the pocket. Daniels can do that, I think, better than Max can, like throw on the run. He's good at improvising. I'm not sure how good Max is at improvising. Like he might be able to do a play action bootleg a little bit. I'm talking like Jaden Daniels or whatever's on a dead sprint to the right, and he puts
Max has done all right running the
30
football,
yards.
but most of the time, once he goes, he's going. There's no throwing it downfield anymore, right?
What do you expect?
No, yeah, I hope they attack, but I expect them to do exactly what they've been doing. To be honest with you, I don't expect anything to change at all. I expect Petrino to run the offense he's been running. I don't think he's going to change much in order to adjust to Max. But
Max
I hope he does.
Killed. If we run the same offense, Max will get killed.
Who needs to stand out for this game to be successful? This offense.
The O-line. I'm talking the O-line, period. That's it. They need to stand out.
We could probably say
every
that
fucking
every week.
Robinson needs to stand out. He can't do stupid shit that we've seen him do. False starts, not blocking anybody, blocking air, him and Foster, like holding hands, making sure nobody wants to touch him.
I'm gonna
Zoom's done all right. Dewberry's done fine. Whatever.
I'm gonna go with the brother connection. I think Johnson's gotta have it. Johnson's gotta have a big game. And
Johnson's gonna have to fucking block and make sure his brother didn't get killed.
That blocking is part of that, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So A&M is -6.5 with a 53.5 over under. Who do you got?
Arkansas.
Ooh. Got the over.
I'm not saying Arkansas will win, but 6.5 points.
It's a lot.
Dude, Arkansas just lost to LSU by 3.
It's a lot.
A chance to win that game, I thought.
And this game is always a tight game, right? Every year it's a tight game, and these teams this year are probably pretty well matched. I would take the points. Not that I don't think we're gonna win, but I would take the points if I had to take it.
We should kill them. To be honestly, I mean, if we were coaching, we'd beat them by a lot because I think we could scheme it to where we attack them on defense, we get turnovers, and on offense, we just let our boys on the offensive line just eat. We just let them eat. I let them eat, and then when that team wants to bring pressure and put 8 men in the box, I'm gonna burn them deep.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, but they try to make it like that.
Look, the Aggies are more talented, right? If you go look at the roster from top to bottom, that roster is a lot more talented. Not just a little more talented, a lot more talented. The downside is that they got the better quarterback.
They do. But we learned a lot last week. If we do what we did last week, we beat them up in the first half and we just knock them out in the second half because we have the depth, the talent, and it should weigh out.
Bobby better be ready to turn this thing into a shootout. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I agree.
Around college football, yeah. Ooh.
Ready. Everybody
Week
ready to make
4.
some money.
Week 4.
Make some money.
All right, let's look at it. Florida and Kentucky. Kentucky's -1 and with a 44 over under. What do you think?
Man, this game makes me nervous. I'll be honest with you. I expect a lot more out of them this year. Florida surprised me with that win against Tennessee. They dominated that game almost. Tennessee looked awful. I'm not saying Florida's looked good by any means. That's the best they looked that I've seen them. And ever since that game, Florida's won, but they haven't been impressive.
Yeah,
So I'd take Kentucky right now. It's at Kentucky. I'd take Kentucky.
I'd take Kentucky, and they haven't looked great this season, but they seem to. I think they've gotten a little bit better each week. And here's the thing: the more I think about it, the more I think that Tennessee win for Florida is more about Tennessee than it is about Florida. You know what I mean? And this week we'll find out. We'll find out if that's true.
Yeah.
Georgia at Auburn. Auburn is +14.5 with a 45.5 over under.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. We just beat Auburn. We beat them by 17. We should have beat them by 37. We beat Auburn up. I'm not sure how beat up they'll be going into this Georgia game. Georgia just played. I can't remember who they played. UAB or somebody.
Yeah.
Who they just beat?
Yeah, UAB.
Georgia's offense hasn't looked good. And the defense has looked suspect, but talent-wise, Georgia should just – this game should be over by halftime.
I saw the Auburn offense play last week.
It was awful.
That's all I got to tell you. Take Georgia, give the points.
Each quarterback, if you were the Auburn coach, who do you start at quarterback? I would not start Thorne. That guy was terrible. That guy was awful.
I'd go with Ashford.
Yeah, I would too.
And I'd turn this into a lot of running scheme, right?
Yeah, I'd milk that clock every chance I got. I mean, that spread's 14.5. I don't see that.
Yeah, like I said, I'd go Georgia big. Mizzou Vandy. Mizzou's -13.5, 54.5 over under.
I won't touch this game. I mean, Missouri should beat Vandy. Vandy sucks, but for some reason Vandy happens to win some games sometimes, and this might be one of them.
You're 100% correct. This is one of those games that just I don't know. There's something Vandy at home. I don't know. I would take Mizzou if I had a gun to my head. By the way,
right.
LSU Ole Miss. LSU's -2.5 at Ole Miss. 67.5 on the over under. Man, I don't know. That's a lot of points.
I was really disappointed with Ole Miss last week. I really thought they had a fighter's chance in that Alabama game, especially going into halftime up 3 or something like that, 3 or 7, and they just looked awful in the second half. Jackson Dart didn't impress me. That running game didn't impress me. Their defense didn't look good. They made Milroe look like Jalen Hurts.
I don't expect LSU's defense to do that to Ole Miss. I don't.
Do what?
What Alabama did. I think
so
Alabama's defense.
You like Ole Miss in this game? You take Ole Miss?
No.
I wouldn't either.
I would not.
I take LSU by maybe 2 touchdowns. I mean, I saw what LSU did on the road in Mississippi State. Mississippi State is not – they're better – or Ole Miss is better than Mississippi State.
Yeah, by far.
But, I'm not sure how much better Ole Miss is than Arkansas. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I do expect LSU to win. How about that?
Yeah, I do too.
I'm going to go under, though. Under the 67.5. South Carolina at Tennessee.
That's a lot of
points. South Carolina at Tennessee, -11.5 for Tennessee.
That's another one that has a lot of points. 62.5? I take the under. Why is that so high?
Not with the way they've been playing?
Yeah, what have they shown you, either team?
I don't know. I'm also kind of leaning for South Carolina to sort of keep it closer than I do think Tennessee probably wins this game. Ultimately, I think they're probably the better team, right? Then South Carolina beat them last year, right?
Yeah, that was late in the season. It was I still I don't know. I mean, I'd take the under, to be honest with you. That's what I scream and just looking at it, I keep staring at it like, why have we not put something on that already?
Bama at Mississippi State. Bama's -14.5.
Bama. I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'd still take Bama. I think Bama's gotten the ship right last week, and I think everybody at the second half, I think they're ready.
Friday game, Utah at Oregon State. Oregon State -3.
Give me Oregon State at home. Give me Oregon State.
100%.
Utah.
I'm still wondering what's happening with Utah's offense. I don't know, Cam Rising, is he coming back? Is he not? And even if he does, is he, in week one, is he ready? He's going to be able to take care of that, and be able to move the ball the way Oregon State has. So they can score points, right?
Yeah, this Oregon State team's not bad. I mean, they lost to Washington State last week on the road by 3. They got Ukulele or whatever. They have a good offensive line. They're pretty good. I like Oregon State.
I would be very comfortable with that. USC at Colorado. USC's -21.5. 73.5 over under. 73.5.
This might be one where I actually take the over 73.5 because USC gave up 28 to 35 points or something last week to Arizona State. Yeah, give me Colorado and I take the over. That's just me.
This is a better matchup for Colorado than Oregon was, right? I think Colorado is going to at least score some points here. I think they still get beat. I feel they still get beat by a few touchdowns.
But Colorado's at home. I think that's a big difference being in
and
Colorado.
Colorado's at home. Correct.
And I think that Deion's learning. He's learning to keep his mouth a little bit more shut, watch what he says, not giving anything, bulletin board material, whatever they call it.
So you said you take the over. Would you take Colorado?
Yeah, I take Colorado in the over.
I like it. Michigan at Nebraska. Michigan -17. 39 is the over/under.
I don't trust this Nebraska team at all. I like the coach a lot, but I think he's a couple years away.
I don't think that offense can score.
No, I don't either. That's what I'm saying. I think it might be close for like the first 5 minutes of the game, and after that, it might be Michigan.
Yeah, I take Michigan. 2 big games outside of the SEC here. Kansas at Texas -16.5 for Texas.
I don't get this line at all. If I've watched Kansas play, the Kansas offense is pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying Texas
they're undefeated,
defense
right?
is. Yeah, and they
get no respect.
BYU team. They beat a BYU team that just beat Arkansas. I'm not saying BYU is good by any means, but I mean, you got to give some people credit where credit's due, right? So I mean,
yeah, I think the only thing that I hesitate about it all here is that they're playing in Austin, right? They're playing in Austin.
Didn't Kansas beat them in Austin 2 years ago?
A much worse Texas team for sure.
A much worse Kansas team for sure too.
Maybe so.
That spread was like 28 or 35 points. It was like one of the biggest upsets of the year. Give me Kansas.
I take
Kansas and the over.
And the over. I like that. I like the over. Here's the other big game. ACC kind of matchup. Notre Dame at Duke. Notre Dame's -6 coming off the loss against Ohio State.
It makes me nervous. I mean, I like what Duke's done. I like it being at Duke. Notre Dame reminds me a lot of Clemson. Plus, they're beat up after that big game last week against Ohio State. What Notre Dame team we're going to see? We're going to see the team that comes out and runs the ball, pounds the rock, and lets Hartman do his thing, or can Duke find ways?
I'm going to tell you this. Everybody talks about that running game for Notre Dame and that offensive line all the time. That running back's really good. That offensive line, they always talk about that offensive line, how good they are, and they've got the, going to be an all-pro left tackle and all this stuff, right? That offensive line was not great last week. It wasn't very good at all.
They couldn't get a 4th down to save their life, yard or inch to save their life.
They were not good at all last week. And I say that to say this, and because I think the matchup of Elko's scheme is going to give them some trouble. If I were Notre Dame, I would line up with 2 tight ends and 2 backs, and I would go right at them. Boom. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Their question on Texas Ags today is Elko going to Michigan State, you think?
No.
Okay. You like Duke, I guess? I'm guessing you're taking Duke and
Give me the points. Give me the points.
Yeah. You like the over-under?
Ah, man, 52. Oof, that's a rough one.
I'm not sure. That Duke quarterback moves the ball with his feet, with his arm. He's everything on their offense. If anything happens to that kid, that quarterback for Duke, I think Duke is screwed. He makes everything happen for that team.
Slight under. Slight under.
Okay.
Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Providence Financial Coaching. Call Steve Gay, certified financial counselor at 863-732-6224. Integrity, accountability, resourcefulness in financial coaching. Visit their website at providencefinancialcoaching.com. Over 20 years of experience in corporate finance. Aggie owned and operated. Question number 1, Corey. If Max absolutely kills it the rest of the season, they don't lose another game, what happens?
What do you mean? What happens?
Connor
We go
getting
to
his
the
job back?
national champion. We go to the national. We win the SEC West, and we go to the national championship game. What are you talking about? What do you mean happens? What?
Yeah, Connor plays.
Connor.
No, Max plays great, and we win the SEC West. What happens next year?
It's the same thing that happens all the time. If a guy comes in off the bench and plays great, sorry, Connor, that sucks. You're number 2, or else you're transferring.
You're gonna kick him to the curb, huh?
If our guy goes undefeated and we go to the SEC championship game and win the national championship, yes.
Let's put a halt on win the national championship. Let's talk about just win the SEC West.
We win the SEC West. If we go undefeated the rest of the season, is that what you're saying?
The rest of the regular
rest
season.
of the season.
Rest of the regular season.
It'd be a tough call. Now, I mean, if we go farther than that, if we win the SEC, the whole SEC, and make it to I mean, it's almost like a Bennett situation.
This is what I'm
Over
going
in
to tell you.
Georgia.
This is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this right now.
All right.
If that happens, Max will be your starter going into next year. If it happens,
Of course he will. Of course.
Jimbo will keep him as the starter. However, I would bring back Connor. Question number 2.
All right.
Who's your SEC West favorite, and who are the contenders?
In the West, just talking
In the
the
West.
SEC West,
Just SEC West.
the favorite right now is LSU. They played the best so far. They beat Mississippi State pretty handily. They beat Arkansas last week. Huh?
Yeah, Arkansas.
They beat Arkansas. Alabama hasn't looked that great. They did beat Ole Miss. A&M just beat Auburn, but that's it. They haven't beat any other teams. Mississippi's right there, but I'd say it's LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, and A&M are on the sideline. After that, it's then Arkansas. And then if Arkansas happens to win this week, I'll move Arkansas up to right there with Ole Miss. So right now, A&M, I have A&M sitting maybe 3rd to 4th in the SEC West with LSU and Alabama in that tier.
I do think it's LSU, Alabama still.
Yeah, you too.
I think it's LSU, Alabama still. I think Alabama's starting to find their footing a little bit.
I know it's kind of scary. I don't understand why they benched Miller in the first place.
What they
The only way he's
did,
gonna get better. The only way he's gonna get better is to get snaps.
what they did defensively also, I think, is huge. Like that defense is starting to look pretty good. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. On the back end, they're making some plays. I've been impressed. That defense has gotten better week to week as well.
Trying to say Nick Saban's a good coach?
Get the hell out of here.
I know. That sucks.
But ultimately, LSU probably has shown the most so far, right?
LSU's got the better offense. Alabama's got the better defense, and A&M has the best all-around team. That's all I gotta say.
I want to end this on this note. All this week, man. How does anybody listen to Dan Lucci and those cats at Texas, man? I mean, if you listen to them, if you listen to those guys, Max Johnson's about to win the Heisman. He's the best quarterback in the SEC still.
Yep.
I mean, you think that we're coming off of a national championship. I don't know. Like our defense, is absolutely insanely good. We just played Auburn, right?
Yeah.
Auburn, worst offense and maybe the worst defense in the SEC. Who knows? That's who we played last week.
You think Auburn would lose to Vanderbilt?
That offense, Vanderbilt's offense at least can score some points. I'm not sure that Auburn can.
Do they play each other this year?
I don't know. But here's my point
doubt
is,
it.
like,
Yeah, I'm listening.
you get those guys over there, and Olin, at least I'll give him a little credit because he came out and said, look, this group still is not playing up to expectations still, right? And 100%, man. But Nuno and Lucci want to sell you this fiction that like the world is rainbows and unicorns, man. Rainbows and unicorns.
Auburn does play Vanderbilt this year.
Oh,
November the 4th.
are you taking Auburn?
I don't know.
Where are they playing?
At Vandy. That might be one of the wins we need.
Listen. Let's make this wager right now. You taking Auburn?
No, I'll take Vandy. I watched Auburn play last week.
Never mind. We agree there.
Go ahead, take Auburn.
No, I like Vandy.
Oh.
Giga Aggies from the tailgate. Later, fellas.